evening, Thomas Puliyel. If we put up the presentation, please. Thomas Puliyel's journey has been witnessed firsthand by many of us in the room today, myself included. Pradeep shares his views of Thomas's journey. BV Pradeep will share his views, and then Ambi. So will you play Pradeep's video, please?
You've been a stalwart of the research industry right from the very beginning. You've been an institutional builder. You built RI from scratch and then led IMRB to much greater heights. You supported me immensely when I was the president of Market Research Society of India for 6 years. You have created a legacy which is being built on even today.
Thank you. Ambi is with us today. Will you please play his video?
He brought, I think, to the market research community a great sense of integrity, competence, and commitment. And in my mind, I don't think there is anyone more deserving of the award than my dear friend Thomas Puliyel. Congratulations, Thomas, and all the very best in whatever you continue to do in terms of developing the market research industry in India.
So we see here young Thomas, just graduated from IMC in 1977. And even while he was studying, he somehow managed to be something called a PGP tutor in his year while he was still studying. He joins ORG in 77. Very generously, he has shared photographs of giants with him, Dr. Vasant Patankar, G. Patsati, and R. Narasimhan. And what he was doing there was client servicing on the audits, which was retail and prescription audits, and also media research, which was then press advertising, and the second NRS. Then IMRB happened to him, and we have a very interesting set of words of how it happened from Dorab in a minute. But he joined IMRB and was very shortly sent to Dubai to set up a store audit for the Al Futem group. Let's go to Dorab, who will tell us a little bit about what happened there.
I've known Thomas for over 40 years, from the time we pinched him from ORG into IMRB to help us conduct the National Leadership Survey. It was a large and complex survey for a relatively inexperienced executive, but Thomas handled it very well. A few years thereafter, Thomas and I were dispatched to Dubai to set up an in-house market research company for the Al Futem Group. It was a 12-month project. Thomas was there for 12 months, and I was there for the first month and the last one, which means Thomas did all the work. And it was a successful project. And then we knew that we had a star on our hand.
We go to the next phase then, which is IMRB through the next decade or so. You'll see the photograph where it's very much still a division of HDA. You have Subhash Ghoshal and Mike Khanna there. Also Ramesh Tadani, Rajiv Vinamdar, Sudipto Sinha, Priya Tandon, J. Rajaratnam, K.T. Merchant, Tilak Mukherjee, amongst others. And the other thing that Thomas called out that he thought was worth sharing with you is in this stage, there was the socialization of the NRS. You can imagine a time, perhaps find it difficult to imagine a time where nobody really knew what it was and what to do with it. And this entire exercise which he took on made NRS embedded and socialized it to what it is today, which is the current common currency. Also, he talked about the SEC classification. Back in the day, there was nothing that gave you a sense of how affluent households were. You had claimed monthly income, which would either be horribly overrated or horribly underrated, depending on whether you had black money or not. And also what happened in this stage was there was a joint venture set up for TAM that was specializing in media research. And I think we need to realize how challenging it must have been to have two rivals come together and work towards a common cause. After After this, we had the Research International era, where he set up a second agency, which he said was fun, but hard work. And also, this second agency set up 3 offices in Mumbai, Delhi, and Bangalore. The next part of the journey, 2000 onwards, was IMRB International, where he talks about how he was joined by the people he calls the old war horses, who were the ones on the left as you see it, and calls out that it had Bhupi, Hemant, Hari, Nikhil, Cad, Girish, Jyoti, Katie, Hema, and Nija. And the ones on the bottom corner are what he calls the new ones: Preeti, Rohini, Himali, Lekha, Sridevi, Vivek, Surya, Gagan, and more. We hear now about another snippet from Durab telling us more about how he reached the pinnacle of his career. Will you play this clip, please?
He reached the pinnacle of his career, which is to head IMRB, which is one of the jewels in India's research grounds. A good researcher, leave alone a good CEO in market research, needs, I think, many qualities, 2 of which Thomas has in great abundance. One is technical competence, and the second is total integrity. Thomas has also, which is difficult to discern at times, a very subtle and a very wicked sense of humor. And a few of us have been fortunate to witness it. By honoring Thomas today, the MRSI also honors itself. Thank you.
Also, what Thomas rounded up very modestly his time, this long journey, was really reflects on his own approach to being inclusive and proudly shares what we did together. He talks about the values, he talks about the awards, he talked about how transformational process and operations steps were taken from India to the wider Kantar, and also talks very proudly about how the tenure of many of the people from MRB were 25 years plus. Let's hear now from the other side of the fence, the global view on Thomas. Eric Salama shares his views with us. Will you share the video, please?
We worked together for over 20 years at IMRB and Kantar and Research International. He was a magnificent leader. He grew our business in India multiple times, groomed a whole generation of new leaders that have followed on from him. He was incredibly stubborn. He always defended his people, the business, and was very protective of it, but did it in a caring, loving way, which resulted in a fantastic business.
And even after MRB, his trajectory continues. He's made contributions at the World Economic Forum. We can hear from Josh on Thomas now.
Thomas is an institution builder. He built IMRB into an institution by creating a culture of independence and professionalism. He helped build a better industry by pioneering collaboration through MRSI. And Thomas enhanced the stature of the research industry through his personal qualities: an expert researcher, a marketing thinker, honest, fair, wise, the quintessential gentleman research professional.
And his trajectory continues in the research space with the S.P. Jain Institute of Marketing and Research, where he's written research papers, research monographs, and continues to write about the impact of very, very real and current issues, such as the effect on COVID on CMOs today. That's a paper that we all need to wait for. It's work in process still. Let's hear from Dr. Ranjan Banerjee, who was with him at SPJIMR?
Thomas Puliyel was a colleague of mine at SPJIMR. He was the head of the marketing area when I was dean of the institute. Nice, warm sense of humor. I found him somebody who, if you asked him for advice, without any rancor, he could give you critical, positive feedback, and who wears his success very lightly and with humility. It's been a pleasure to know him and work with him.
Thank you. And this is the last video that we had. I think Thomas gave us some names and he thought that many people would not respond. Every single one of them got back. So, I mean, that's a testament to you, Thomas. So not only are we talking about learning and taking the students of today forward, but even brands like Tata Sons are hugely being benefited with Thomas's expertise, and we'll hear from Harish Bhatt on that.
This is wonderful news to us. At the Tata Group, we have had the privilege and opportunity of working with Thomas on a specific consumer-related research project of a strategic nature over the past 3 years. Thomas has brought his insights to the table. He has a keen power of observation, the ability to cull out very good insights from a research study. He's good at making strategic trade-offs, making choices with that calm confidence of his. Thomas also has a great clarity of thought, which I admire very much. And he's very persistent and determined in getting to the final solution, in getting to the final milestone, casting aside all obstacles which may come along the way. For all these reasons and many more, we greatly respect Thomas Puliyel's capability in the arena of market research, and I'd like to mention on behalf of my colleagues and myself who have worked with him that this is indeed a wonderful milestone.
I'd like to call upon MRSI past presidents Sandeep Arora, Jayant Jain and Praveen Shekhar to please come on stage to hand over the trophy to Thomas. Thomas, we would be honored for you to address the
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor to be here, the recipient of this year's MRSI Lifetime Achievement Award. And I think that honor is greatly enhanced by getting this award alongside Rama, who I have admired, respected for many, many long years. Mitali has done a wonderful job of sort of giving you a snapshot of the last 45 years, and I'm greatly humbled by all that's been said by my colleagues from the industry. Thank you very much for your kind words. I hope that I work harder to deserve the words that you've said, perhaps sometime in the future. Thank you, Mitali. Over the next few minutes, I'll try and recount a few anecdotes from my working career, talk a little bit about what we could have done better, and then cover my next project and seek your help in that. I began my career with ORG, market research company that many of you might have forgotten, but began operations in the 1960s, clearly the earliest formal market research agency in the country. ORG was the brainchild of Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, created to monitor the sales of Sarabhai products, consumer products, detergents, and pharmaceuticals. I don't know if you know that the Sarabhai product Det was the first detergent brand in the country, launched even before Lever Surf. Sarabhai Chemicals was the largest pharmaceutical firm in the country, larger than Glaxo and Pfizer and Ranbaxy and Cipla. The ORG was sort of created to monitor sales for those products. So you can only marvel at the vision of Dr. Sarabhai to begin the store audits in a year, maybe just a few years after it was actually launched in mainland Europe in 1957. As a first job for a new executive out of a business school, it was very invigorating. You met with a very wide range of clients because of the nature of client servicing of the store audits as well as of the readership survey. I joined IMRB in '81, spent about a year, as Dorab had mentioned, with the Alphatem, creating a market research cell for that company, then came back to India, and then got to working on the third National Readership Survey. I remember Ramesh Tadani and I were to make a presentation to clients in Delhi on the findings of the National Readership Survey, and I was running to the airport. It was very early in the morning at about 5:45 or so. I was hurrying from home to catch a cab to the airport. And in a slightly underlit part of that road, a car stopped alongside me, and a person got out of the car waving a knife, asked for my cabin bag, my jacket, and my wallet. The unfortunate bit was that the cabin bag contained the Kodak Carousel, which had the deck of slides to be presented at Delhi for the findings of the NRS. I told the person who had accosted me that I had to get to the airport urgently, so I extracted 100 rupees from my wallet with his permission, and then handed over the rest of my stuff to him, including my wristwatch and my wedding ring. The story has a happy ending, actually. I went to the airport, booked a fresh ticket to Delhi, went home, collected another jacket, spoke with my assistant, woke her up actually in the morning to fax the text of the slides to Delhi. We got a new set of slides made, and we had the client meeting just about 45 minutes later than scheduled. But to the credit of the clients, they all stayed back and hung around for that time. In the 1980s, MRSI happened, the diary TRP monitoring system was created, and the SEC system was created, completed in 1989. The SEC study was a collaborative effort with a group of 4 research agencies carrying out the fieldwork. Considering that the study was done during a period of great business rivalry, it is to the credit of the leaders of the research business at that time who rallied together under the MRSI banner to get the study completed. Of course, Ashutosh Sinha was there at that time, did most of the heavy lifting that was required. A small core team from IMRB then moved along with me to create Research International, the second agency for IMRB to handle multi-country work and competitive accounts. That was 1991, a time when clients in India wanted local servicing, and therefore we had to create branch offices, have senior people in all these offices, a fairly costly business model. With Ramesh's untimely passing in the year 2000, I returned to the mothership. It is to the credit of all the senior managers who were there at that time, the heads of the regional offices, specialized businesses, qual research, customer sat, social research, B2B, that they all worked together to create this business. Many of them have actually spent their whole working careers with IMRB. KT Merchant was one of the first few employees of IMRB, worked from 1971 till 2002, 31 years. Josh Mukherjee, who you've heard earlier today, began in the early 1980s and continued till a couple of years ago. Hemant Mehta spent 30 years. They were all fiercely loyal, hugely creative, and the business success of IMRB is the collective result of all the managers pulling together as one. My achievements are not my own. I shared this honor with all those who, over the years, contributed to my personal growth, the company's culture and values, and its business success. When you follow great institution builders like Ramesh Tadani, Dorab Sapariwala, Titu Ahluwalia, and Subhash Ghoshal and Mike Khanna from Thompson's, and tread in their footsteps, your task becomes so much easier. A big thank you to my wife, Chitra, and our daughters, Preeti and Tarani, who have always been very supportive and never demanding. Thank you for being who you are. My 6 years at SPJMR post-retirement was also refreshingly different from the previous 38 years in market research. And for that, I have to thank Dr. Banerjee, the former Dean of SPJMR, and the very energizing team of faculty at SPJMR, and thank you, Ambi, for your part of that in that role. But looking back at my time in the market research industry, while there was a lot that was good stuff that we can justifiably be proud of, there are some regrets. The questions that come to mind are, while we did great innovation over the years, how much of that was a response to client need? Did we drive innovation through white space mapping, a recommendation that we make to many of our own clients? As a business leader, were we too cautious to grow our business through acquisitions? Did we miss out on opportunities to grow the business inorganically? And the third question that comes to mind is whether we did enough to realize the full value of the work that we do. Perhaps each of us, when we pose these questions to ourselves, will have a different answer. But this is something that's worth thinking about. I would like to end by briefly talking about a project that I'm working on, which is to document the first 50 years of the research industry in India, the years 1960 to 2010. We already have access to about 40 hours of interviews with key leaders of the business and heads of fields and analysis. There's some more to be done, about perhaps another 25 hours of interviewing. Now, this is conceived of as a collection of perspectives, memories of events and anecdotes to bring alive the challenges of business at that time. So if you have interesting stories or connections which you think should be featured in this history, please write to me. I believe my contact details are available on the MRSI website and the directory of members, and I can discuss with you on how we can take this forward. Thank you for your patience while I shared my memories. Perhaps at the end of this evening, we can get together and exchange notes on the joys of working in this business. Thank you all.